Hi everyone. Today's lesson is to write percents as fractions and decimals. Okay. So let's go over some vocabulary. So a percent is a ratio. Whoops, I forgot to pick. Okay. Is a ratio that compares a number to 100, right? Ratio, ratio. Okay. Good to know. When a number is written as a percent, the percent symbol percent is placed after the number. For example, the ratio 10 over 100 can be also written as 10%. Okay. So remember, we did 10 by 10 grids yesterday. So it's just 10 little small boxes out of 100, 10 shaded, 100 total squares. It's going to be 10%. One way to visualize a percent is to shade squares of 10 by 10 grid. A 10 by 10 grid has 100 squares, so 10% means 10 over 100 as shaded. Percents can be very small or very large. No matter how small or large, a percent is always a number compared to 100. Can't state that enough. It does not matter if it's 5% or 350%. All that means it is going to be that number over 100 every single time. All right, let's start some example problems in comparing fractions in simplest form and decimals. So write each percent as fraction in simplest form and as a decimal. So A you have as a fraction, so 25% means 25 over 100. Remember, it's always over 100. And they're asking to do it in simplest form. So you are reducing this fraction completely into simplest form. So always try to look for the largest number that goes into 25 and 100. And in this case, it's going to be 25. And if it's not the largest, it's okay, but you got to keep going. 25 divided by 25 is 1, and 100 divided by 25 is 4. And now you want to write this as a decimal. And if you know what 1/4 is as a decimal, it's fine. If you don't, then go ahead and divide it out. 4 on the outside, 1 on the inside. One thing you're going to realize, the 4 doesn't go into 1, so you're going to need a decimal point here and then add a 0. So 4 goes into, in that decimal, goes right above it. 4 goes into 10 2 times. 4 times 2 is 8. 2, add another 0, bring it down. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20, so that's a 0. So it's going to be 0.25. Okay. B. 2% is written as 2 over 100. And what number goes into 2 and 100? That's 2. So it's going to be 2 divided by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 100 divided by 2 is 50. So this is the simplest form of that. This and this. This is saying 1/50th. Okay, and again, if you're not sure, divide it out. You can divide it out, and there's nothing wrong. So you can have 50 on the outside and 1 under the inside. And 50 doesn't go into 1. Decimal, 0. 50 doesn't go into 10, so that's a 0. So you need another 0. 50 goes into 100 2 times, so it's going to be 0.02. And 50 times 2 is 100, so that gives you that 0 you were seeking. And C, 100% is 100 over 100, and that is 1. 100 divided by 100 is 1. So that's your answer. Simplest form, you can just write it as 1. And 1 is 1 as a decimal. You are more than welcome to write 1.00, but this is 1, 1.0, 1.00. They're all okay for that one. All right, let's do a word problem. Pablo opened a bookstore. During his second year, his book sales were 150% of what they were the year before. How many times more books did he sell this year compared to last year? So write the percent as a fraction with a denominator of 100. So you're going to have 150 over 100. Now let's simplify it. So what's the largest number that goes into 150 and 50? And I know that is dividing by 50. Your 50 is the largest number that goes into both. So divide this by 50. 150 divided by 50, or 50 times 3 is 150. 50 times 2 is 100. And now you want to write it as a mixed fraction. So 3 over 2 is going to be 1 and 1/2. Pablo sold 1 1/2 times as many books his second year. So now you have some you try problems in the next 2 slides. What I want you to do is actually pause the video, do it yourself, and then come back and check your answers. So pause your video right now and do it on your own. And if you're still struggling, maybe you can follow along, but when you do it yourself, then you can check to see what you're struggling with. All right, welcome back. So let's do these problems. So 75%. So write each percent as a fraction in simplest form and as a decimal. 75 over 100. So 25 divides to both of these. Gives you 3 over 4. And again, if you're not sure, divide it out. But 3 over 4, 3/4 is actually 0.75, 0.75. 5% is 5 over 100. You can divide 5 into the numerator and the denominator. So that's going to be 1 over 20. So 1 over 20 is 0.05 as a decimal. And I really recommend dividing it out if you're not sure. Next one, 50 over 100. 50 is the largest number that goes into 150. So you're going to have 1 over 2. And that decimal is 0.50. Okay. Carlos opened a candy store during his second year. He sold 125% of candy he sold his first year. So write this percent as a fraction in simplest form. So 125% is 125 over 100. 25 is the largest number that goes into both the numerator and the denominator. And that gives you 5 over 4, which is 1 and 1/4. And if you're not sure how to do that, then just divide it. Okay? You're going to have 5 with 4 on the outside. 4 goes into 5 one time. 1. And that's just a remainder 1. So it's going to be this whole number is the one that comes on the outside. And that 1 that's left over is a numerator. And that denominator stays the same. And write this as a decimal. Well, 1/4 as a decimal is a quarter, which is 0.25. So it's going to be 1.25. All right. Thanks for joining me. Bye, guys.